Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to my presentation. I'm delivering a presentation on my paper this afternoon entitled The Innovation Imperative, Adding Fire to the Fuel of Genius in UAE Schools. My name is Carol Webb and I'm currently a lecturer at Middlesex University, Dubai. So what is my research about? Well, recently schools have been given the mandate to innovate in the United Arab Emirates based on the compulsion from the UAE National Innovation Strategy, written and published in 2015, where the government set about trying to encourage a culture of innovation, and they earmarked education as one of the most important sectors within which to achieve this goal. And they have said that they want to nurture young talents, they want to change pedagogic curriculums, education, teaching and learning within schools, and really help people start to think in an innovation-minded way right from infancy. So, what I'm going to be talking about in my presentation is how innovation strategy is being implemented in UAE schools at the moment, and the way I'm going to do that, I will tell you a few snapshots from what represents best practice, how some schools are struggling, what the barriers seem to be, and from that the flip side, which are the enablers, and then out of that, the recommendations for both research and practice. So first of all, this is a map of the UAE. For those of you that aren't familiar with how it looks on paper, it's embedded between Saudi Arabia on the one side and Oman on the other. You've got Abu Dhabi, which is the largest emirate, and then it's made up of 6 other emirates besides. My research focuses on 4 of these emirates and schools from them. So schools were my unit of analysis. And in the UAE, there are 809 schools at the moment. That includes government schools and private schools. I took a snapshot of what was going on just within 9 of those schools from responses from 12 research participants. My research participants were teachers, leaders within schools, within these 9 schools. So this is a brief overview of how my research panned out. So I got participants from within 4 of the Emirates. That was Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Ras Al Khaimah and Sharjah. As you'll see, there was a bias towards schools that participated in my research from Dubai, and also most of them were private non-profit schools, and most of them were also British curriculum dominant. And of the schools that were involved in the study, you'll see that there was quite a broad cross-section with the age of the schools represented. You've got some very new schools that haven't been inspected yet, just coming up to the 3-year mark where they've just gone through inspection for the first time. Then you've got some older schools which represent 20 years and 25 years of age, so very much more well established in the UAE by UAE standards. Most of them again were international, mostly taught in the English language and looking at good to very good, but also including a fair and unacceptable rated inspection report as well. The participants were 12 in total from across these 9 schools, mostly representing teacher leaders with some level of responsibility of leadership between them, and minimum level of teaching experience was 6 years, as you can see, and some others that were pretty much more well established experience-wise as teachers and leaders within schools. So some basic results from my research then revealed that, as you'd expect, it's quite a high expectation to think that children or students within the school environment could be writing and registering patents. So at this stage, we haven't got any reports coming from these 9 schools at least that students have done that. When it does happen, that will be something quite amazing. However, we do have 1 school out of my 9 that does report currently teaching students how to write patents or how to register patents and about intellectual property in general under the heading of academic honesty from grade 6 and above on the International Baccalaureate curriculum. Also, within my sample size of 9 schools, 2 of those schools had innovation labs. And innovation labs, I'm not going to go into what they are right now, but as you can imagine, they include a mix of high technology and lots of tools that students can get busy with to really see what they can do with artificial intelligence, 3D printing, and the like. Out of my sample, there were 4 schools that were already winning prizes for innovation. and that was either at the regional or national level. 6 of my 9 schools studied said that they were tangibly, explicitly working towards the National Innovation Strategy aims, which meant, by the same token, that 3 were not. And I'll just come back to those 3 in a moment. So what were representative of best practice examples then from these schools? Well, I chose 3 that stood out to me for different reasons. In third place, I had the school that I called Dubai 3, and it was that school that taught academic honesty and getting students to know what intellectual property was and what patents were from grade 6 and above on the International Baccalaureate curriculum. They also had an innovation lab in their school. In second place, we've got Dubai 6, and in their school they had strong innovation leadership, embedded innovation teaching and learning throughout the curriculum in a broad range of subjects, and they'd already started winning prizes. Not just the teachers who did win some prizes for innovation, but also students as well. And Dubai 5, they came out as my winner because they had a broad mix of all these things. Strong innovation leadership, embedded innovation teaching and learning, they had an innovation lab, and they were winning prizes at the national and regional level. Just coming back to the ones that were struggling then, the 3 without any explicit means of really attempting to reach the aims of the National Innovation Strategy. And we have, first of all, a school in Ras Al Khaimah, so RAC 1 I've called it, and in its last inspection it was rated failure, unfortunately, and they're currently suffering from weak management with no direction, and it's a very poor school. So this is something that the school is currently struggling against, that means that innovation really isn't on their agenda right now. School improvement overall is, and that's a bigger target for them. Secondly, we have Sharjah 1, and they reported having low quality staff CPD, lower salaries, low trust between staff, and unconfident students. So they need to work on those things before they can start to address the innovation agenda. Thirdly, Abu Dhabi 1 reported having a high leadership turnover, weaknesses in curriculum and resourcing, with no innovation strategy. And as a result, the results coming out for how they were delivering innovation were very much lower. So what were the barriers then that schools felt they were facing in trying to give attention to innovation in the curriculum in the school? Well, I came up with 10 barriers from the research that I did. Firstly, strategic focus was necessary to pay attention to. If that was lacking, then innovation was going to be much lower performing. Financial resources, allocating resources, time, teacher training and CPD, knowledge and best practice sharing. So where teachers within the school were doing stuff that was good, some teachers were sure that it was going on, but they didn't have a clue about it, so they said that this would help. Teacher motivation. Some teachers weren't motivated towards either their teaching practice or definitely towards really including innovation in their practice and embedding that. Teachers being flexible with their teaching and learning. SLT, giving attention to timetabling for innovation. Timetabling restrictions really cause problems for innovation implementation. Schools that really felt under the cosh with being exam-driven, they also felt that they didn't have as much time as would be practical for really doing well and excelling in the area of innovation. And schools where they had little or no after-school activity because of transport issues, they felt that that was something that would have to be overcome. And then, in addition, we have the idea of a positive school community culture, where parents and staff and students weren't interested, it wasn't going to happen. So on the flip side of these barriers, we have the enablers. And of course, some of these are very tightly focused and related to that last list, because these are what we should be doing really to achieve innovation within the schools. And these are what the teachers identified as areas where if we did put attention on them, then innovation implementation would be much better. So first of all, strategic direction was identified as one area for improvement. Resource allocation, the school culture came in at number 3, teacher CPD, sharing that best practice and knowledge throughout the school, motivating the teachers to deliver innovation, teaching and learning, embedding innovation within the classroom on a regular basis, timetabling, so collapsing the school timetable, giving after-school activities for innovation priority, also really being more flexible about the ways that teachers could implement, for example, an off-timetable day themselves just for innovation activities. And number 9, an enabler would be encouraging participation in innovation competitions, regionally and nationally, and otherwise as they come about. And this could be your magic recipe for success for implementing innovation in UAE schools. That's what the teachers felt that I surveyed. So again, just drawing together then the 6 most important recommendations for practice that came out of this study. First of all, schools should allocate a school lead for innovation. Secondly, they should develop a whole school-wide innovation policy. Thirdly, they should develop their school culture, CPD, routines and practices, and really try to embed teaching and learning around innovation regularly. And address timetabling at number 4, so that innovation culture as a whole can really be accommodated within the school. Number 5, encourage participation in the innovation competitions that are out there. And number 6, if a school does not have an innovation lab as yet, because that is quite a big step forward, within the UAE at least, they can visit the Google Innovation Hub at Al Ain University, which has just opened recently for that very purpose. And it's an amazing place by all accounts. When you look at the images on the web, they've got everything in there that every innovation lab that is worth its weight in gold should have. Okay, so really, where did I see this going as research? The next step I would say is that a really more statistically meaningful UAE survey should be done of schools representing all 7 emirates, representing all levels of inspection results, so from failure to outstanding, and then also representing all curriculum, including MOE schools, that's Ministry of Education, and private international schools. In addition to that, what is really necessary is capturing the long-term impacts of these initiatives within schools. So there's no point really doing them unless we see what's happening at this ground level and then following the stories out, the narratives that are emerging, and to see what they lead to in later life for these students. So where there are innovation impacts emerging within schools, how do they link then to what's going to happen in the real world? So longitudinal research would really work well to draw attention to those things. So thank you for listening and tuning into my presentation. If you've got any questions, please do tweet me. You can find me on Twitter at Dr. C Webb, BA, PhD. Thank you very much.